At my mother's birthday celebration in her New Jersey home, I found myself staring at the empty seats where my children should have been. Confused, I turned to my mother. "Mom, I don't understand," I said, my voice tinged with disbelief. "You specifically told me this was an adults-only gathering." Yet, before I could process her response, my brother Michael entered the room, his wife beside him, their 3 children dressed in their best, each carrying a beautifully wrapped present. My mother's face brightened at the sight of them, and she rushed forward to greet them. "Grammy," they squealed with delight, their arms wrapping around her, while my heart ached for my own children, Emma and Lucas, who were at home with a babysitter. I had followed my mother's instructions, believing she wanted an evening without kids. Noticing my expression, she turned to me. "Oh, Carmela," she said lightly. "Michael's kids are different. They're special. I'm sure you understand." But I didn't. Not at all. Emma, 8 years old, and Lucas, 6, were just as special, just as deserving of celebrating their grandmother's birthday. As a single mother, I had spent the morning comforting them, wiping away their tears as I explained why they couldn't come. I had promised them we'd do something special another time. "They're not different," I said firmly, my voice steady despite the emotions churning inside me. "They're all your grandchildren." Michael smirked slightly, adjusting his expensive tie. "Come on, sis. You know your kids can be a handful. This way, everyone can enjoy themselves." A handful? Was that how they saw them? Because Emma sometimes struggled with large crowds? Because Lucas expressed his excitement through movement rather than sitting still? The very qualities that made them unique and wonderful were the ones that my family dismissed as inconvenient. I rose from the elegant dining table, my untouched plate forgotten. Around me, framed photographs of our family adorned the walls, but as I looked closer, a painful truth settled in. Michael's family was featured prominently, their smiling faces in every major shot. My children, on the other hand, were present only in group photos, pushed to the edges, almost as if they were an afterthought. My mother barely noticed my movement, already distracted by Michael's youngest showing her a drawing. "Where are you going?" she asked absent-mindedly. "We haven't even had dinner yet." I picked up my purse, my decision already made. My children deserved more than this. And suddenly, I knew exactly how to give it to them. "I'm going to spend the evening with my children," I said, my voice clear and unwavering. "All of us should be where we're truly appreciated." As I stepped outside, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found a number I hadn't called in years. Sometimes, life has a way of giving you exactly what you need, right when you need it. The drive home through the quiet streets of New Jersey gave me time to reflect. This exclusion wasn't new. It had started small, forgotten invitations to Sunday brunches, family gatherings scheduled during my children's nap times when they were toddlers, always little reasons why Michael's kids were easier to accommodate. I had excused it, hoping to shield Emma and Lucas from the rejection. But maybe I had been wrong. Maybe they needed to see that when people fail to appreciate you, you find joy elsewhere. Pulling into the driveway, I glanced again at the name on my phone screen, Antonio DeMarco, Culinary Institute. Tony. We had gone to high school together, and now he was one of New Jersey's most celebrated young chefs. His restaurant, Giardino, was always fully booked, and my kids had begged to go there after watching his cooking videos online. Taking a deep breath, I dialed his number, hoping he'd remember me. The phone rang twice before a familiar voice answered. "Tony, it's Carmela Martinez from Ridgewood High." "Carmela? Wow, it's been forever. How are you?" His voice was warm and genuine, bringing an unexpected lump to my throat. "I'm okay," I said, steadying myself. "Listen, I have a bit of an unusual request. Are you at the restaurant tonight?" I quickly explained the situation, trying not to let my frustration seep into my words. Tony listened without interrupting, and when he finally spoke, his response made me smile for the first time that evening. "Bring them over right now. I have the perfect idea." When I stepped inside the house, Emma and Lucas were sitting with Jessica, their babysitter, attempting to play a board game, but their disappointment was evident. Emma's long, Dark hair was pulled back into the special occasion braid she had done herself, clinging to the last hope that Grammy would change her mind. Lucas jumped up the moment he saw me, his energy instantly returning. "Mom, you're back already. Did Grammy miss us?" His innocent question squeezed my heart, but I refused to let my sadness show. Instead, I smiled, my voice full of mystery. "How would you two like to go on an adventure?" Emma looked up hesitantly. "What kind of adventure?" Pulling out my phone, I tapped on one of Tony's cooking videos. "How would you like to meet this chef? Maybe even learn how to make something special in his kitchen?" Their eyes widened in disbelief. "Really?" they gasped in unison. "Really? Sometimes, the best celebrations are the ones we create for ourselves." As we drove toward Giardino, the lights of downtown Montclair sparkled ahead, promising an evening my children would never forget. The golden glow from the restaurant spilled onto the sidewalk, casting a warm invitation. Through the large windows, the bustling dining room was visible, filled with cheerful diners enjoying their meals. Emma clutched her cherished notebook, where she meticulously recorded recipes from cooking shows, while Lucas bounced beside her, excitement radiating from every movement. "Are we really going to cook in an actual restaurant?" Emma asked, her earlier disappointment fading into eager anticipation. "That's the plan, sweetheart." I gently smoothed her neatly braided hair. "And you're already dressed just right for such a special evening." At the entrance, Tony stood waiting, his chef's whites impeccably crisp despite the flurry of the dinner rush. As soon as he spotted us, a broad smile spread across his face. "The Martinez family. Come in, come in." He bent down to meet Emma and Lucas at eye level. "I hear you two are interested in cooking?" Lucas nodded enthusiastically. "I can make scrambled eggs all by myself." Emma, a little more reserved, held up her notebook. "And I've been learning about herbs," she shared, her voice soft but proud. "I have a little garden on our windowsill." Tony's eyes sparkled as he flipped through her neatly written notes. "This is incredible. You know, I started just like you, growing herbs in my mom's kitchen when I was about your age." He led us through the lively dining room to a special table with a view of the open kitchen. The rich aroma of fresh herbs and sizzling garlic filled the air, and I watched as my children's eyes widened in amazement, taking in the seamless dance of chefs at work. "First," Tony announced, "we'll have a proper dinner. Then, if you're up for it, I thought we might create something special for dessert." He winked at the kids. "I could use some expert help with my famous tiramisu." "Really? We can help," Emma asked, her eyes shining. "Of course," Tony assured her. "And I'll even give you your own chef's aprons." He glanced at me knowingly. Every great chef has to start somewhere, and my kitchen welcomes all kinds of special talent. The way he said special carried a different meaning than when my mother used it. For her, the word created distance, excluding what didn't fit into her world. But Tony? He used it to celebrate uniqueness. A server arrived at our table with warm, freshly baked focaccia, the fragrant herbs sprinkled on top mirroring the ones Emma nurtured at home. "I took the liberty of preparing a tasting menu," Tony said, placing his hands on his hips with satisfaction. "Everything is child-friendly yet sophisticated. No simplified kids' meals here." In my kitchen, we treat every chef with respect, no matter their age. Seeing the excitement on my children's faces, I felt the last remnants of my earlier hurt begin to dissolve. Sometimes, being turned away from one place simply redirects you to where you truly belong. The tasting menu was a parade of flavors and surprises, completely overshadowing thoughts of my mother's party. Each dish arrived with a story from Tony about its origins, and he encouraged the kids to guess the ingredients. Lucas beamed when he correctly identified the sage in the butternut squash ravioli, while Emma impressed everyone by detecting a subtle hint of rosemary in the roasted chicken. "You have quite the sophisticated palate," Tony told her. Emma's cheeks flushed with pride. "Would you like to see how we make our herb blend?" As we finished our main course, Tony reappeared, holding two pristine white aprons embroidered with Giardino Junior Chef in elegant gold thread. Emma and Lucas gasped in delight as he helped them put them on, rolling up the sleeves to fit their small arms. "Now," Tony declared, leading the way into the kitchen, who's ready to make some magic? Stepping inside felt like entering another world, a mesmerizing space of gleaming stainless steel, rhythmic motion, and coordinated chaos. The staff welcomed the children with warm smiles, and Tony took the time to introduce them properly. Everyone, meet our special guest chefs for the evening. Emma here is our expert in herbs, and Lucas is our enthusiastic apprentice. Welcome to the brigade, a few chefs called out, using the professional kitchen term with playful sincerity. The kids straightened their backs with newfound confidence. Tony had set up a special station for them, with every ingredient carefully measured and ready. Safety first, he reminded them, demonstrating how to hold utensils correctly and handle hot items with care. Emma diligently took notes while Lucas, usually full of restless energy, watched with rare focus. First, we prepare the coffee mixture for soaking the lady fingers, Tony explained. Lucas, would you like to help me count how many we need? Lucas, who often struggled to concentrate during schoolwork, carefully counted each cookie, his brows furrowed in deep concentration. 24, he announced, beaming with pride. Exactly right. Tony nodded approvingly before turning to Emma. And would you like to help mix the mascarpone filling? The trick is to fold it gently, just like when you handle those delicate herbs in your garden. I watched, amazed, as my children worked in perfect harmony. The usual bickering between them disappeared as Emma patiently guided her brother, and Lucas, in turn, listened carefully to her suggestions. Tony had an intuitive way of nurturing their strengths while providing quiet support where they needed it most. Mom, Emma called out excitedly. Take a picture of us mixing. I eagerly snapped several photos, capturing their joyful, focused expressions as they worked side by side. Without a second thought, I shared a photo on my social media, captioning it, "My amazing junior chefs creating magic at Giardino." Huge thanks to Chef Tony for making this night truly unforgettable. Within moments, the likes and comments began to flood in. As my phone vibrated, I glanced at a message from my cousin Sophia, who was at my mother's gathering. Oh wow, is that Chef DeMarco? The kids look so happy. Things here are pretty tense. You definitely picked the better celebration, she wrote. Just then, Lucas called out excitedly, carefully piping a rosette of mascarpone cream exactly as Tony had shown him. Look, I did it, he announced proudly. Tony observed his work with a nod of approval. That's excellent technique. You know, I run weekend cooking classes for kids, and we could really use those piping skills. As I watched my children thrive under his patience and encouragement, it struck me, sometimes, the family we truly need isn't always the one we're born into. While we assembled our tiramisu, Maria, Giardino's social media manager, approached with a warm smile. Would you mind if we take a few photos for our Instagram? She asked. Emma and Lucas eagerly posed with their beautifully crafted desserts, their Giardino Junior chef aprons lightly dusted with cocoa powder. Their faces radiated pure joy and pride. Would it be all right if we share these? Maria continued, showing me the images. We're launching a new weekend cooking program for kids, and these photos perfectly capture what we're aiming for: joy in the kitchen. I turned to Tony, who was demonstrating the art of creating chocolate garnishes to Lucas. He glanced up and explained, "This program is something I've wanted to start for a long time, giving kids a space to explore their love for food, regardless of their learning styles or energy levels. Everyone deserves a place in the kitchen." His words hit me deeply. My mother had often dismissed my children, seeing them as too restless or too serious. But here, Lucas's boundless enthusiasm was nurtured as creativity, and Emma's focused nature was celebrated as a gift rather than a flaw. Of course, share the photos, I told Maria, intrigued. And I'd love to hear more about this program. While our tiramisu chilled, Tony led the kids to the restaurant's rooftop herb garden. The New Jersey skyline twinkled behind them as Emma excitedly identified different plants, while Lucas carefully smelled each herb, declaring which dishes they would best complement. Meanwhile, my phone continued to buzz with notifications. The photos had begun circulating within our community, drawing attention not only to Giardino's new initiative, but also to a larger conversation about inclusion. Parents of children who didn't quite fit into traditional learning environments were reaching out. This is incredible. My son would love this. He struggles with regular classes but thrives in the kitchen. Finally, a program that understands different learning styles. Is there a waiting list? Even some of my mother's friends had commented, their messages subtle yet clear. It's wonderful to see children being valued for their unique gifts. Some people could learn from this. As I read through the messages, Tony joined me. You know, he said thoughtfully, I struggled in traditional school settings as a kid. Cooking saved me. It turned my energy and creativity into strengths rather than obstacles. That's what I want to create here. I watched as Emma patiently explained to Lucas the difference between oregano and thyme, her voice filled with quiet confidence. Your children are remarkable, Tony continued. Emma has a sophisticated understanding of flavors, and Lucas's enthusiasm is exactly what a kitchen needs. Would they be interested in joining our first official weekend class? Not just as students, Emma could mentor younger kids about herbs, and Lucas has a natural ability to demonstrate techniques. Before I could answer, my phone lit up with a call from Michael. Without hesitation, I declined it. My focus was here on my children flourishing in an environment that celebrated them for exactly who they were. Let Michael and my mother wonder why their picture-perfect party was being overshadowed by photos of my so-called handful of kids creating culinary magic. Sometimes, the best way to move forward isn't about getting even, it's about carving your own path and shining in it. When we returned to the kitchen, our tiramisu had set perfectly. Tony showed the kids the final steps in decorating, guiding Emma in the precise dusting of cocoa powder while Lucas eagerly created chocolate curls for the garnish. The entire kitchen staff gathered to admire their work. These look absolutely professional, Tony declared, taking more photos. Would you mind if we added these to our dessert menu? We could call them Emma and Lucas's Junior Chef Tiramisu, with a portion of the proceeds going to fund scholarships for our weekend cooking program. Emma and Lucas's eyes widened in disbelief. Our names? On the actual menu? Emma whispered in awe. Absolutely, Tony smiled. Every great chef deserves credit for their creations. Just then, my phone buzzed again, another message from my family at my mother's party. This time, it was from my Aunt Diana. Just saw the photos. The kids look so happy and confident. Another wave of messages lit up my phone screen. My mother was clearly frustrated that the conversation revolved around the children's cooking experience rather than her meticulously planned gathering. Perhaps this would be a lesson for her in the value of inclusivity. A new message from my cousin James made me chuckle. Michael's kids are throwing fits because they want to be at the restaurant cooking too. Karma in action. Ha ha ha. Smiling, I set my phone aside, choosing instead to immerse myself in the moment. The kitchen staff had gone the extra mile, arranging a special tasting session for the children's tiramisu. A panel of professional chefs provided thoughtful feedback, treating the kids' efforts with the same respect as any seasoned baker's work. Lucas beamed with pride when they praised his mastery of chocolate decoration, while Emma glowed as they admired her precise layering technique. As we watched the children soak in the compliments, Tony leaned in and spoke softly. I'm launching a charity foundation to make our cooking programs available to all children, regardless of background. Would you and the kids be interested in joining the advisory board? We need voices that truly understand the importance of inclusive spaces. Before I could respond, Maria came rushing over, excitement written all over her face. She held up her tablet. The photos have gone viral in the local foodie community. Several restaurants are reaching out, asking how they can implement similar programs. And look at these comments. I scanned the screen. Finally, someone recognizing that every child has unique gifts. This is what real family support looks like. Can't wait to bring my energetic son to these classes. But the comment that touched me the most came from Mrs. Peterson, my mother's oldest friend. These children are absolutely precious and talented. Some grandmothers don't know what they're missing. Tony called everyone together for one last photo. Emma and Lucas, still in their junior chef aprons, stood proudly with their tiramisu creations, surrounded by the warm and supportive restaurant staff. It was exactly what a family picture should be: genuine smiles, natural poses, and pure happiness. As Tony helped Emma carefully wrap their tiramisu to take home, she turned to me with hopeful eyes. "Mom, can we do this every year instead of Grammy's party?" Tony grinned and added with a wink, "Or, even better, every weekend? Our junior chef program runs on Sunday mornings. Sounds like the perfect opportunity for a mother-child cooking tradition." Looking at my children's faces, brimming with joy and excitement, I realized that what we had found was far more valuable than a seat at my mother's carefully orchestrated family gatherings. We had discovered something uniquely ours, a new tradition, a sense of belonging, and a space where we could truly shine. The next morning, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled our kitchen as Emma and Lucas eagerly shared their homemade tiramisu with Jessica, our trusted babysitter. The warmth of the previous night still lingered, made even sweeter by the continued flood of supportive messages across my social media. Jessica took a bite and sighed in delight. "Mrs. Martinez, this is incredible. I saw the pictures last night. Everyone at my college is talking about Giardino's new kids program. They're saying it could revolutionize how restaurants approach children's cooking classes." Meanwhile, my phone sat on the counter, displaying 3 missed calls and 5 unread messages from my mother. I chose not to open them. Instead, I turned my attention to helping Emma prepare materials for her upcoming herb workshop, while Lucas excitedly practiced his piping techniques, using whipped cream to decorate his morning waffles. "Mom," Emma said thoughtfully as she arranged her herb guides, "I was sad about missing Grammy's party at first, but now I think we've found something even better. It feels like we're creating something special." Lucas, with a dab of whipped cream on his nose, nodded enthusiastically. "Yeah, and Chef Tony says I can help teach the little kids how to count ingredients. He says I make math fun." Just then, the doorbell rang. It was Tony, holding up 2 crisp junior chef jackets. "The first class is already full," he announced with a smile. Turns out, a lot of families are looking for a place where their kids can just be themselves. As my children slipped on their new jackets, striking playful poses for yet another photo that would soon circulate through our growing community, I felt a deep sense of peace. Sometimes, the sweetest moments in life come not from fighting for a seat at someone else's table, but from creating your own. A month later, Giardino's launched its first official junior chef weekend program, with Emma and Lucas proudly welcoming 15 eager young participants. The local newspaper featured a story on the program, showcasing my children teaching others, Emma demonstrating her knowledge of herbs while Lucas guided the younger kids in creating chocolate decorations. My mother had finally stopped calling. Instead, I sent her a copy of the newspaper article with a simple note: "We found where we belong." Shortly after, Michael's wife reached out, asking if their children could join the program. I simply directed her to the official website, just like any other parent. No special treatment required. Our Sundays quickly became sacred. Week after week, Emma expanded her understanding of herbs, eventually launching a small business selling home-growing kits to other young chefs. Lucas, on the other hand, discovered that his high energy made him a natural entertainer, and before long, his cooking demonstration videos on Giardino's social media developed a devoted following. We had built something real. Something lasting. A tradition all our own. Tony and I joined forces to expand the program beyond its original location, bringing it to various restaurants throughout New Jersey. Our goal was to build a network of welcoming spaces where every child could explore and develop their culinary skills. As word spread, the waiting list grew longer with each passing week. However, we remained committed to setting aside spots for children who, like my own, needed an environment where they could truly flourish. One Sunday, as we were setting up for another class, Emma turned to me with a thoughtful expression. "You know what, Mom?" she said. "I don't feel sad about Grammy's parties anymore. What we've created is even better." Lucas, busy with his chocolate piping, glanced up and nodded. "Yeah, and the best part is that we get to share it with so many people." That was the thing about exclusion. It often had a way of guiding you to exactly where you were always meant to be.